The final set of the North American SCL today, guys. It's going to be Noble taking on Elevate, and I got to give a shout-outs to Noble here in this one. Oh, were we reversed for a second? You were looking like something weird. So so Kevin, I gotta give shout-outs to Noble there recently, actually performing pretty well. They were able to find 2 wins against Soar, as well as some decent games against, I believe it was either Most Wanted or Eager.
Yeah, I mean, Noble has definitely turned up. This was a team that a lot of people had their eyes on. They were together for the majority of the history on PC, and then made the transition over to Xbox, and I think that consistency has sort of paid off. As you noted, they're considered one of the lower, well, they're not considered, on the standings, they're one of the lower-end teams, but through hard work, determination, and cohesion over the number of years, they have actually been able to take games off of the top
and
teams.
Heart. Always got to, don't forget about the heart when talking about that.
Fire, wind, water, heart.
No, Lou, though, has been a staple player for quite some time. He's been performing very well. yoyoabc in the solo lane has impressed me as well. I know, as he made the adaptation and move over to this, because I believe he was a support before a solo laner, I was a little bit worried, but I mean, he's proven to be kind of a top contender here in the SCL. And then Supra, kind of this, we were told he was like this superstar. I haven't seen it yet.
Not yet.
But the potential's still there.
Exactly. And I think that right now is sort of that point where you start to see the wheels rolling. We saw earlier in the day Aggro joining back with his squad. Yeah. And most notably, the reason I bring up Aggro is their hunter, Keeg's mate. A lot of people were talking very highly of him. At the beginning of the season, he looked pretty average. This set, we saw him really turn up. These weeks, the third week, fourth week, fifth week, this is when you start to see players that are spoken about really step into the limelight, and I think this might be the week where Super steps forward.
Into picks and bans we go. Noble versus Elevate. It's going to be the first matchup here. Elevate also switching it up a little bit. Owen no longer on this squad. They've brought in a player known as Broadway to be in that solo lane matchup against yoyoabc. We'll see how he plays out. And it's going to be actually a rat ban by Elevate.
Yeah, they don't. Elevate doesn't want to deal with the newer character just yet. Wants a little extra time working on it. So instead, they'll ban him out, and they'll also ban out Guan Yu, which is basically a god that you absolutely have to if you're not ready to take the fights because of how much sustain he has. So banning out Guan Yu leaves Susano.
And Noble also actually targeting out some mages there. Raijin, obviously, a top card in the mid lane. However, Kronos a little bit more targeted at Zachsy. We do know that Paul can play this god as well, so it's just 2 really well-known Kronos players on Elevate. Might as well take it away.
Exactly. Elevate, they're so strong when it comes to basic attack characters like Kronos or regular traditional hunters. So taking that out of the hands of players like Zachsy and Paul definitely is something that they want to do. Cabrakan will be the first choice here for Elevate, which has been a god that we have seen go from never picked, never spoken about, to picked on specific teams to now first pick, first ban.
Hey man, Cabrakan is actually that good, and he's going to be paired with a Bacchus as well, so it's the double Guardian composition coming out from Elevate, so a lot of front line, and we have seen Susano, kind of take some nerfs since his release, and he doesn't really have that full burst potential. That's going to be a really good matchup for Elevate here.
It's going to be very, very interesting, and especially next to the Athena. Susano has a lot of mobility just because he's damn fast, but Athena has mobility because she can literally traverse the map with that ultimate. Coupled with Hou Yi, I think you've got a lot of potential to go really deep. Susano and Hou Yi are 2 characters that want to dive very deep, and then you have Athena ult to them for the additional safety.
Nemesis, though, to round out the first 3 for Elevate. So, I mean, this composition is pretty much just this massive front line. Cabrakan, Bacchus, obviously, not only are they Guardians, but they also have kind of additional protections and safety in their kits. Cabrakan's passive, 5% all damage reduced, not only in an area around him, but also to himself. And then Bacchus with the Chug gets those bonus protections. Nemesis has her shield, also steals protections away. This is going to be a composition that Noble need to draft into like some pretty heavy penetration with their builds.
And not even just that. I mean, you mentioned the defensive side of it. Look at the offensive side of things. Bacchus and Nemesis are 2 characters that want to jump on you right away and just eliminate protections, and basically one goes down as quick as everybody jumps in. So seeing that, Noble Esports, fantastic choice. They ban out Scylla and Hebo, knowing that Bacchus and Nemesis combining are going to create a burst environment. So you take Scylla and Hebo out of the table, which leaves Zeus as the selection for Elevate.
Another burst mage, and it's going to be Hades for Noble. So we have started to see Hades start to rise there with the recent addition of Vanguard, or I should say recent buffs to Vanguard. Those solo lane Guardians having a little bit better time there managing and staying alive, especially against those minions. And it's going to be Noble picking up the Chang'e. Now this is something they brought out recently as well, and it's something that they just feel very confident. We had Lou, I believe it was Lou, on kind of the comms, the interview for us, and he said that this is just a god that Supra has practiced and that he felt very confident would work in their composition.
For a long time on the console scene, we've seen this Chang'e from a couple of players, Supra included, be in the middle lane, which is something a little bit different. Hades and Chang'e right here, I'm not ready to call which one is going where, because we've seen this mid lane Chang'e in the mid. It is.
It's going to be the mid lane Chang'e here, I think, against the Zeus.
And it's just like, it's an interesting choice because one, Chang'e, if he reads the Zeus right, he can get rid of the detonate. Now that is a lot easier said than done.
That's outplaying your opponent.
Exactly.
Like mentally, like you just know your opponent so well. Not something you probably want to do and face up against, you know, a new mid player, someone you've never faced off. But also, I believe Lou said that they scrim against Elevate quite often. So this is going to be something that they're going to be comfortable matching up into, and it is going to be the Chang'e in the mid lane with that Soul Stone.
So Zachsy over there in the hunter role and Paul from PC in the mid. This is one of the changes that I actually liked. Paul has been a hunter for a long time and made the swap over to mid pretty much the beginning of the SCL for a number of weeks now. And I've actually really liked the transition. It's rare that I like the transitions, but Paul has really excelled here in this mid lane carry role, just being able to be super strong.
I would say it takes time more than anything
for
the transitions, and it, you know, for most, not even for some, it takes 6 months plus to be at the same level you were on the other role. Very few people make that instant transition. Zeros is the only one that comes to the only player that actually ever comes to my mind when we talk about that, where it's like he made the transition pretty quickly from the jungle to mid. However, he was playing Giannis and what was it, Vulcan in the jungle. And I'm talking about like at LAN.
Chapo made the swap over to the solo lane while Weekend joined the squad, and he was able to sort of tread water, but I have a feeling if Weekend didn't leave when he did, we might have seen the other side of Chapo's solo.
I'm just waiting for the jungle tier with Transcendence.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Early game, though, here. Advantage right now to Elevate. They got the left side mid Harpies, at least for them, as well as the Fire Imp. So Noble being pressured ever so slightly.
Here's Supra on that Chang'e that we were talking about so much. So what Chang'e brings to the table here, not just against the other team, everybody always thinks about anti-heal, but clearly there's not much healing on the side of the enemy team. What Chang'e brings is the clear is okay, but recently she's got a little bit of love to her own heal, and more importantly, she's just she's sort of like a warrior mage almost, that she's always around in the middle of the fight with this constant damage
output.
So
I think like the lore in game actually explains it best. Fairy of the Moon, right? Where, you know, Chang'e is actually just kind of weaving in and out like a fairy, or like, you know, kind of like a firefly. Like you can just see her just like weaving in and out.
I'm with you on that.
It's just poke damage. She comes in, she gets out, she gets in, she gets out. And it's like, as long as she can stay alive and position herself well and save that Moonlit Waltz to avoid any burst damage, it's just so effective.
You know, I really wasn't with you when you said lore.
I wasn't convinced. I needed to convince myself the more I started talking about it.
I think you saw my face.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
When you said lore, I was like, where are you going, Kevin? But no, that makes perfect sense. She wants to hit you with the dance, come on back, hit you with another dance, provide some healing.
Very flowy, you know?
Exactly, just so in and out. It's not a popular pick, but I really do want to see a Lotus Crown. I think it amplifies her utility, but here we're just going to see it work out just as standard, because the burst comes out from other places. You're going to see burst come by the way of Hunter. Lou is going to be your major damage source here for Noble Esports, as long as this Chang'e can provide support and, most importantly, find powerful ultimates.
And it seems like Lou's doing pretty well right now, paired up with the Athena in this dual lane. You can see Bacchus and Xbalanque on the other side. Now, Xbalanque has a little bit better time in the laning phase than he used to with throwing dagger, which will be going away in the next patch. We'll kind of see how people switch it up for there. But right now, Lou just keeping the pressure on to Elevate.
And the reason that Lou's able to be so confident in pushing up this pressure is because of the success that Grattywind has done recently. All right, there. Well, He goes over the stun with the taunt, so it doesn't look so successful. But Grattywind has been an excellent addition to this team. Lou, for a long time, laned with the same person for years. And so switching to a new support was an interesting choice.
Takes time.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where, you know, Barracuda, Jeff Hidlow, like if they split up, which they did actually at the start of this.
For a moment.
At the start of the season for a moment, you know, it's going to take time to kind of transition to that, and Snoopy wasn't super, you know, comfortable with that. And that's looks like a little bit of lane clear as Lou doesn't really have the mana to keep up the poke war, and he's going to take a trip back to the base.
Yeah, just pull the Divios. Just drop the ult, go back home real quick, and come right on back. But as I was saying with Grattywind, hyper-aggressive, but not reckless. We just see repeated, he plays a lot of Sobek and a lot of Athena. The dash taunts, the plucks, for seemingly no reason. Hey, you're in my sights, I got the pluck, I hit you a couple of times, hooray. And that's a big deal. But after that, like, not going too crazy, under tier 2s, etc.
Yeah, the big thing is about, you know, you're just trying to force out those relics, and especially with Athena, that's what you're going to want to do. Noble's made the rotation here into the right-hand side. They're going to be able to successfully steal away the blue buff. They were looking at the speed for half a second, but instead they're going to back off. yoyoabc actually pops his ult, and it seems like the team's trying to full commit for that first blood onto Broadway. There goes the Typhoon. The knockup's going to be good, but they don't really have the damage, and a perfectly timed Xbalanque ult going to dissuade them from aggressing any further.
Yeah, Zachsy completely helping out his buddy there, Broadway. Lives to see another day for the moment, but that was a little bit rough there. It was a fantastic play from everybody on Noble. Broadway, honestly, Kevin, Broadway just sort of got lucky.
Yeah, no, I think the thing was that Noble was like, I don't think it was a call by Noble to let's kill Broadway. It was yoyoabc's like, yo, I'm gonna ult right here.
Yep.
And he ulted right there, and there was only one person close to him. The Susano rotates. I mean, if Chang'e's there, that's probably a kill, but he had already rotated back to that mid lane. So a little bit of miscommunication in calls, or not even miscommunication, kind of just Yo-Yo thinking he had that there, and the rest of his team was around.
Yeah, it was just a straight opportunity call, and I totally respect it on the side of Noble. Broadway just sort of, you know, drops his ult in response, and no harm, no foul. Everybody goes ahead and lives one more time. Lou's going to go ahead and clear up the wave, and everything on the Hunter side is relatively even. Lou leading by about 200 gold, which is, I mean, a handful of wards that he's not going to buy anyway, so no big deal.
Actually, let's see. How many wards has Lou bought, guys? It's probably going to be 0. Actually,
the only wards are the Hunters. Ladies and gentlemen, screenshot this. It is the only time you'll ever see it.
Oh, my word. The only thing crazier would be seeing a game where the Boosh is the only one has warded.
The Boosh and Cloud just warding against each other.
Klaus started to place more wards. It's not a lot, but it's more than he was before.
2's more than 0.
Here we go. We got some more on the board. And actually a knock up there, Supra, and a little bit of an awkward position as Freya's made the rotation. And I think yoyoabc is ulting as well. We hear it, but Freya on the rotation finds Supra, and with those darts, Zachsy going to clean up Shame. And now the team's looking for Grattywind, but he's going to be able to get out. Finally, yoyoabc falls, and yoyoabc actually the one to start that fight. We didn't see the beginning of it, but we did hear that ult go off.
3 for 0 coming out from Elevate right there, and I gotta say, it's a lot to do with Freya able to confirm those kills. It was very fun sitting on Freya before that fight started, because we got to see really the true thought process of the jungler. Freya's just looking around like his head is on a swivel. Who do I want to look at? Who's getting away? Because he knows as the Nemesis, he's not going to 100-0 somebody. In fact, at 6 minutes, he's not going to 50-0 somebody. He's got to play clean up. So he sees who's trying to exit, finds the target, slaps him with the slice of dice, cleans it up, 3 kills to none. He's involved in all 3 of them, 1 with his own name, and then after cleaning up with the Gold Fury, 2K in the lead, well executed by Elevate.
And now Elevate going to be able to go back and spend that gold. You can see boots online for all the players on the side of Elevate. Player damage right now, yoyoabc is topping the charts. And so that was actually, I think Noble was actually trying to force that. You did see yoyoabc TP into that fight, I'm assuming, or at the very least kind of just walk there. His TP is online. That's very interesting that Noble would really try and force something there. And it gets turned on the head. And he's going to be back to farming. He does have a gold lead on Broadway. I think even with that first Gold Fury, he was pretty far ahead already.
Yeah, he's been pushing, especially with that attempted kill onto Broadway earlier on. We've definitely seen yoyoabc kind of control this lane, and as it should. Hades has superior lane clear, and then when Broadway decides to jump down into the Tremors, the silence can come out as well. So Hades certainly expected to be on the top side of this lane.
Let's talk a little bit about this Chang'e and kind of what she's going to build into, because I think the last time we saw Supra with his build, he actually went into a pretty early rod of Asclepius, just kind of looking for that bonus healing and really more importantly that movement speed to weave in and out.
Yeah, it's the movement speed and the extra health that Rod of Asclepius provides. 200 HP is a lot. I mean, that's basically where Adventurer's Blade, or rather Winged Blade, really comes from, is the fact that it's got 200 HP. That is a large amount, especially when coupled with the other stats. And same thing with Rod of Asclepius. So it's a fantastic item for Chang'e. Expect to see it, if not number 2, number 3.
And speaking of the Wing Blade, I mean, with all these slows on the side of Elevate, the Chain Lightning, Nemesis has the dash, Poison Darts from the Xbalanque. We actually see this Athena going into the Incon build where he gets the boots one straight into the Wing Blade.
You're trying to start it, right?
What are you saying?
It's the F-dot build. Come on now. Clearly.
It's the Adonis build, man. I'm going to send everyone a cease and desist order. Red buff being stolen away by Elevate. It's going to be hard for Lou to get in here, and he knows it. He's got to dash away, and Grattywind can't defend the buff. Paul's going to pick it up. And this Zeus right now, already a 2-level lead, and this is what's most worrying about this Chang'e, that if she gets behind, she is a melee mage, you know, in air quotes, I would say.
Like a Habwa. Yeah.
Like a Habwa. You know, no, even Habwa has a much longer range with the water spout. You actually have to be in a very small, like 20 radius cone for Chang'e. And it's going to be hard for her to farm.
Well, so here's one of the things with Zeus specifically. Zeus has a lot of trouble farming because of just the way his character is built. So a lot of times you see, exactly. So he has to be very, very careful. So a lot of times you see Zeus on the bottom side losing the lane, but it's okay because, hey guys, guess what? I'm Zeus. It doesn't really matter. Well, that's when you're up against traditional mages. Chang'e a little bit different. That lane dominance isn't going to necessarily be stripped from Zeus. So now you're in this position. Zeus and the Chang'e, I think it's less devastating than it seems right now, Kevin, but definitely have to keep an eye on it. I think this could quickly spiral out of control.
The biggest problem right now for Noble Esports is kind of these 3v3 cores when you look at them. The Zeus Bacchus, right, not even including the Nemesis, because Nemesis has that low pressure, but Zeus Bacchus is so good at contesting, especially in those small confined areas like the mid-harpies. You're going to get intoxicated, you're going to have a lightning storm, and you're not going to have many options to get out of that lightning storm either, just because of the geometry of the map. I
almost would have preferred seeing, I think the Scylla ban was absolutely correct. I think that the Hebo ban was correct.
Awkward. I mean, that's a very...
But I would have rather seen Zeus.
I mean, Hebo also just destroys Chang'e.
I mean, the reason we see the Hebo ban, instead of the Zeus ban is because Paul is one of the prominent Hebo players. Like, Hebo's not exactly a #1 pick, but for Paul, it's easily top 3. So you got to take it away from the player specifically for respect, but at the same time, Zeus is almost more problematic.
Yeah, funny enough, so 2 weeks ago we had an interview from Elevate, and it was Paul came on, and we asked him why he picked Hebo. He said, I don't know, man. I got like 5K worshippers. I love Hebo.
And that was Hebo in the Hunter lane, right? That was in the long lane, if I'm not mistaken? It was mid still? Okay.
And then last week, we get Noble on, and I'm like, why did you pick Chang'e? I don't know. Super just really loves it, and we win with it in scripts. And that was it was like the same thing. These are two mages that aren't typically or traditionally picked up, and they're just drafted just out of comfortability of their owners.
And that, you know, a lot of people, you know, that's not necessarily a negative. I mean, we've seen Zapman do it with specific hunters when, hunters coming out of the meta, and he loves his Uller no matter what. He's going to pick the Cupid if the opportunity's available.
Invade coming out on this speed buff, though. Yo-Yo actually caught straight inside the Lightning Storm, and he's going to get hit by the Neath ultimate as well, or excuse me, Nemesis ult, and now we have a retreat, but the Cabrakan ult walls Shaman completely. He was trying to dash away, but runs straight into it.
And that right there, everybody likes to complain about the escapability of Susano, but don't forget, that dash is number 3 of a 3-step execution. So when you're mashing your dash trying to get away, the enemy knows exactly what's going on. They're able to put a wall in front of you, and shame can go nowhere.
This is trouble. All 3 members still alive for Noble. Walks straight into a flank. Good ult from Super is going to find a multi-man stun, but somehow StormyRays is going to walk out alive.
They're all low. Lou, go back and shoot them in the face.
I don't know if that's how it works, but
they're all low.
I mean, it might have been a suicide mission. yoyoabc has respawned, and he's got his Warlock Sash online, but Lou can't clean up right now, and Zachsy's back to farming already.
Oh, man. That was so rough, seeing everybody so incredibly low, but Elevate does a fantastic job of... Yes, they're all low, but they made sure that the enemy could not even do anything about it. Shame tries to gank Zachsy, and Zachsy basically just says no.
I mean, Zachsy's also 4 levels ahead right now in that jungle. That's probably not the best option. I think if they full commit to a fight, that's still going to go the way of the xBlancque. But he didn't know if anyone else from Noble was around. So one thing too is that, oh, actually no, this actually could spell trouble here if Zachsy wants to fight, but it's going to be a disengage.
So right over here, one of the interesting things that we see from Noble, which I think is going to be a commitment, is a lane swap. The Chang'e realize he's not having too much fun against the Zeus, so we're going to see Supra go hang out in the right lane, taking on Broadway on the Cabrakan, which might be a better matchup. Plus, that tower's already down, so it's going to allow Chang'e to go ahead and get that farm, because as you noted, Kevin, she's down 2 levels. Hades, on the other hand, nice and even with the Hades, going to be able to take this a little bit more even, so a hard lane swap coming out from Noble. Love the adaptation.
But no more lanes available as Broadway going to find Grattywind here caged in. There's the Lightning Storm on top. Typhoon actually going to do a lot to dissuade the aggression, and Grattywind, he dashes away, but Paul's got the detonate stacks, and there it is.
Broadway 2 for 2 when it comes to fantastic Cabrakan ults. Very rarely do we see those Cabrakan ults be so successful by way of blocking an exit. A lot of times it's just like damage and then a slight detour. These 2 ultimates that we've seen have just completely annihilated the target, and I mean a lot of that has to do with the fact that Paul is putting an ultimate on top of it, but fantastic placement coming out from the new solo lane, Broadway.
And now Elevate, they're going to be starting up the Gold Fury. Stormy is on Peel, but it actually doesn't look like Peel. I mean, I think they just want the kills. Gold Fury's already down, and it was picked up by Elevate here. yoyoabc, once again, I mean, this Hades is just getting eradicated. Jump forward onto the Bacchus. StormyRays trying to find one, and it is going to be Lou locked in. This could be trouble for Zachsy, as he's getting very low, but he managed to get away from the main portion of the fight, and Shame is going to try and chase him down, but he turns his attention now, just trying to help Peel for the rest of his team.
Freya's trying to make something happen against the Susano.
Oh, Shame, no.
There's the ultimate, and Shame in some trouble. Gonna be chased.
Shame, no, and the bait.
And Freya, the Nemesis, picks it up. Stormy in some trouble as well. Super gets credit for that, so that's the first kill on the side of the mid lane Chang'e. And Elevate are up by 8 kills, 9-1.
And Broadway there almost found the Chang'e as well. Unfortunately, his ultimate just barely off the mark. 6K in the lead. The 8,400 experience as well. That's probably the most notable point of this lead. 14 minutes in, I mean, across the board, we're seeing, multiple levels. The supports are the same, but 3 levels on the Hunters, 3 levels on the mid, 2 levels on the jungle, and that is your core. You cannot have that get behind.
And then Elevate does this. Elevate really does this. I think that the top part of North America has really been solidified, Kevin, I think. And tell me if you agree. You've got the Soar, you've got Most Wanted, and you've got Eager.
Soar's still interesting. I think Eager, Most Wanted are definitely the number 2s.
Yes.
I think Soar dropped a couple games, but they did have a sub. However, they also lost to Most Wanted at the beginning, I think, with their main roster. So
yes, very much so.
It is something where it's like, I think we're going to have to see kind of where Soar falls. I do expect them to start grinding back up, but yeah, I would say they're the top 3.
When it comes to everybody, Elevate is the top of the bottom, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I think that Elevate is going to have some trouble breaking into that top 3, and I think if any of these teams in the league have the possibility, I think it's Elevate. But when they go against them, when they go against everybody that's not on that top corridor, it's really rough for the opposition. You've got Paul, you've got everybody just combines and just sort of winds up with a 6K gold lead in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think the big thing is there's just so much individual talent
yeah.
On the Elevate squad. I think the objective play and kind of everything around that is what's lacking, and that's really what we see from a lot of those teams that are the best of the bottom that you talk about.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Freya, Paul, and Zachsy have all sort of solidified themselves as, I mean, Zachsy being an Xbox native has just been like, hey, look, we're so strong.
I mean, Zachsy's good because Soar were playing with him during the qualifiers. Like, they respected him. They felt Keegsmate was the better option coming in, but I mean, Soar thought that Zachsy was good enough to play, like, individually.
Mm-hmm. Zachsy had a couple of shots on some high-end teams and ultimately winds up on Elevate, which, like I said, this is the flex team. This is the team that can surprise people and wind up in the top 3, I think.
Well, they're going to be trying to surprise Noble there. The xBlancque ult is popped, but the cage is off the mark. Typhoon is going to find actually 3 members knocked up and 2 actually pulled back in. yoyoabc finds 3, but the Lightning Storm right on top, and Super can't connect his ult either. And here comes Broadway, 3-man stun. The Trimmers are activated, but it seems like Noble are going to be able to disengage successfully as Lou split pushes.
Big play coming out from Zeus right there, completely understanding, waiting. There's no reason to use the ultimate until yoyoabc drops that ult. A Hades ultimate can drastically change a fight, but a Zeus ultimate can dissuade the Hades from using it. Bam, down it goes, and then Elevate. They go into the jungle for a moment, and then as soon as they see Noble turn around, they just reverse
it was absolutely a bait, and now yoyoabc.
Wow.
Zachsy's going to get him with the Rising Jaguar. Lou is going to jump back in, but he actually could get looped around by this Bacchus, and I think that's exactly what the Bacchus is doing. He's rotating in here. Lou's forced to go into his tier 2. He knows something's going on, and now Elevate are going to back. They got their tier 2. They've got 12 kills on the board. They've got an 8K gold lead, and they've got a Zeus that's almost doubling all the damage on Noble.
Yeah, Zeus is... Well, that's my analysis. Zeus is Zeus. I mean, that's what it comes down to, is when you get the Zeus fed, there's very little that you can do. You can buy a shell and just sort of hope it's up when he detonates. You can sort of mitigate what Zeus does by way of assassination. But when your assassin jungle is 0, 3, and 1, that's really not an option. You can wait for the late game and have your hunter do it, but your hunter's 4 levels behind and 2,000 gold down. I mean, all of the tools and options that Noble need to take to mitigate what Zeus have, they're just not there.
One of the biggest problems I think that Noble are having is kind of their team composition. You can see the core they've drafted: Susano, the Chang'e, the Athena, and even going so far as to say, this Hades. Like, all their damage comes from being close to their opponent, comes from being in that front line, comes from being in melee range. And then who they're facing off against is an Intoxicate from Bacchus and a Lightning Storm from Zeus. The second they dive, both of those ults are dropped, and they really can't fight into that, especially now that they're behind.
I mean, I just don't think there's enough damage on this team, honestly, Kevin. Noble, they're relying 100% on Lou. Athena obviously isn't going to be your main damage source. Chang'e building into the Colonel's Pendant, and then defense isn't going to be your main damage source. Susano is behind, and that's going to hurt him a little bit. Even if he was there, I mean, that's still rough because Hades can't be your main damage source as well. When you look at Elevate, it's clear. Short, Hunter, Mage, done. The Chang'e pick, I like it. I like doing different things, but you have to make sure you have the damage elsewhere.
And Shame here is going to be able to jet stream away as he was getting aggressed onto, and Lou being chased into his own jungle. I mean, Zachsy has that 4-level lead and the Chin size completed. He's going to abuse it. I think he actually stole away that red.
Yep. Yeah, it's just not going to be available. Elevate in the enemy jungle right now, and it all comes down to the composition for me again. You want to go Hebo jungle? Awesome. You better have your assassin someplace else, like the solo lane. You want to have a warrior in the support? Awesome. Have a magic dealer in the solo lane or in the jungle. Do something different. Cover your bases. You want to do something different and put a Chang'e in the mid lane? Have your burst damage elsewhere. But instead, Hades, not burst. And Susano, I mean, burst, sort of, but not that burst that you're looking for, like a Zeus. And because of that, Elevate of 12 kills, and Noble have struggled to find one.
And now Elevate also going to pick up another Gold Fury, extending their gold lead to 11,000. The experience lead is massive as well, and now Elevate, they're not waiting anymore. StormyRays gets pulled into the tower, but I mean, he's a Bacchus who's the exact same level as the jungle he's facing off against. And the towers are going to start to be shredded here. Left tier 1 should go down, but I love what Noble's doing. You can see them actually split pushing across 2 lanes there.
Yeah, this is what Noble has to do. They realize that they're not going to, as I've said a number of times, the composition isn't made to fight.
Oh,
they just don't have the damage, so they have to fight the structures.
It's always worrying when you see a solo lane or TP as the other team is sieging up. It's always dangerous, but it's actually going to be Elevate who are backing off. They do have their Cabrakan teleporting into mid, defending that tier 2 here, and it's only going to be a tier 1 for tier 1 trade. That is a win for Noble. Any fight that ends up even is good for them at this point.
The changes I would make here: I want a Bastet in the jungle, and I want a...
We're still game 1. You trying to say game 1's over?
I very rarely say that, Kevin, but I think the writing's on the wall here. And so here's what I want. Basically, for game 1, Noble can't take the fights. They have to take the structures. They have to look for the split push. And in that vein, I would have rather seen split push-oriented characters, Apollos and Bastets, etc. So right now, Noble have to realize they need to do something to allow these split pushes to happen, because they're just not well equipped enough to really go head-to-head against a Nemesis, Bacchus, Zeus. Who cares? That's the problem here, plain and simple. Noble have to find objectives and towers.
And now it's going to start to get really rough for Elevate. You can see the item level lead for Zachsy. He's got an Executioner online. Bacchus is almost going to be unkillable with the Shell Meditation, working on an Urchin. And it's Rod of Tahuti and Sunder. That's when you know the style is out. Paul has picked up a Sunder.
No, Sunder's just good. I've been pro Sunder since it came out. It's still so good.
Who's he going to use the Sunder on?
Hades, Chang'e, Athena, all 3 are valid targets.
They're going to be dead by the time the animation even leaves his body.
Well, so here is realistically, whoever the Nemesis ult doesn't hit, the other tanky target is where the Sunder goes, and then it just melts them. Yes, they're ahead, and like honestly, you could do it without the Sunder too. But there's 4-0 and 6 on the Zeus. He doesn't really need the defensive option right now.
There's Typhoon, but the fight's still happening. Cabrakan going to try and find the cage, but can't lock him in, and still the chase is on. Freya is going to get silenced away here. StormyRays, he wants to dive real deep, though. At the very least, this is going to be a tier 2, but actually, it's going to be Elevate continuing the fight. Grattywind somehow not dead yet. The shell is going to save him, and yoyoabc is able to dash to the Phoenix. And actually, Lou is split pushing on the left-hand side.
Yeah, as I said, this is not frustration. This is not the wrong call. This is not Lou abandoning his team. This is the option that Noble has right now, and they're being very intelligent by employing it. But the problem is, it's not the greatest option in the world. And 4-on-4 on the right side doesn't look very strong right now. There's a silence and Grattywind trying to get out.
And the meditation actually really going to be helpful for Noble, and they do have the heals coming out, not only from the Hades, but also the Chang'e and Elevate. They don't really have sustain, so they're forced to back out of this one. And once again, Noble Esports, they're trading out evenly. This is exactly what they want to do here. Yep. yoyoabc still trying to force the fight, but he has to dash away, surrounded by 4. And he's going to get Nem ulted. Chang'e ult actually lines up 3, but once again, no follow-up. And over the wall, the lightning strike comes down. 1 stack detonate is good.
And again, Noble right here, as you noted, they're trying to stall. Anything that they come out even on is fantastic. It's unfortunate that ABC drops right there, but the idea is just stall and wait till the late game so we can fight against a full build Zeus and Nemesis and Xbalanque.
Hey, man. Shame. Trying to do everything he can. Fire Giant being held right now at 35%, and Noble are going to actually force Elevate to drop the objective. So doing everything they can right now. And I mean, Lou's actually had a pretty decent time to be able to solo farm. And you can see he's caught up significantly, already level 19.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Noble are doing everything that they're supposed to.
Except for the triple ward spot.
Yeah, that was funny.
Why do you place 3 wards in the same spot?
They're just making sure.
They all just warded at the same time. That's all that happened. I want Lou to place a ward too, like right there.
No, look at how here. They're clearly competing for wards placed, so they're just dropping the wards. As soon as they see their buddy drop a ward, they drop one too. They heard us. They heard us at the beginning of the game.
Probably.
And now they're trying to make up for it.
Lou would have got so much gold there if he had a sentry. We got 150 from that. Ooh.
Yeah.
Big
that
money.
would have paid for the sentry. Would have earned 30 gold.
Yeah, there you go. The most efficient sentry ward in the history. But now, Elevate, they still have a lead, and they're going to be forcing the Fire Giant once again. They need to deal with the split push in some way. They can't kind of just keep getting confused by it. And it's actually going to be a one-on-one on left-hand side. Zachsy going to force Shame to dash away, but Lou's rotating in as well. So this is going to be a 2-for-1. And as long as the rest of Noble can stay safe, this is going to be really good for them.
Yeah, it's a 3-on-4 over here on the right side.
There it is.
Xbalanque ultimate's
Zachsy's going to die.
And Lou gets stunned. That's not a good look. That's a kill if Lou doesn't get stunned. But unfortunately, he does. Doesn't find a stun of his own. Going to chase down the target, but it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how he ulted there, but it's still a man advantage for Elevate on the right-hand side. And they're going to make use of it here, tier 2.
Find a good ult, Chang'e. Chang'e finds a good ult here. They can convert at least 1 kill.
I mean, that's all that Noble relying on. Oh, actually, Zachsy didn't run away. He tried to fight Lou. There's the poison dart. It's going to find the slow, and the ricochet just barely off the mark. Lou no jump for 3 more seconds. Zachsy's cooldown, not exactly sure where it's at, and there's the knockup, but actually doesn't hit it. The Sanctuary's solid, and Zachsy makes it out.
So now Lou just going to be forced to back. Can't even split push. Right side, aggression onto the Phoenix. As I said, it's all about this ultimate out of Supra. If he can land a multi-stun, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually, when we saw this Chang'e before, that's really what Noble relying off of, is that Supra actually hit these multi-man ults all game. And it's going to be up to Elevate to not combine. The problem right now is that Elevate are not closing this game out how they need to.
Right here, right side. Chang'e's behind them.
Well, except for there. That was a nice pick. And now Supra going to try and back, but he's going to be run straight into Zachsy here. The pathing going to be incredibly important, and Zachsy looking for him here. Yeah, I mean, he's going to catch up to him eventually. Poison darts, doesn't jump it, so he is going to be slowed, trying to get away, but he's wasting time once again, and now it's going to be Fire Giant on to Elevate. I mean, if they get knocked off of this again, I mean, Noble might just be straight back into the game, but I think this is going to be the full commit, and you can see Lou already looking for the split push.
Yeah, Chang'e's not interested. Huh. I find that curious. Chang'e just decided to go back to base, play it safe, doesn't want to be too aggressive, which I find interesting, I find curious, I can use all the words I want, but at the end of the day, I do respect it a little bit. If Chang'e's dead, then there is no, like I said, I think the number one tool for Noble to use right now is the multi-man Chang'e stun, and if Super is dead, it's just not there, so I'm with it.
Gold Fury, though, going to be started up here as Elevate. They probably don't need it, but they want to keep it out of the hands of Noble here. We'll take a look at Gold in hand and see if they want to elect to back it all. About 2,000 for the top end there, 1,000 to 1,500 for the bottom ends, and that means it's back to base to finish up some of these big items. So you can see Spirit Arrow being worked on for the Nemesis. It's going to be even harder to kill. She's found no deaths just yet. That Bacchus might actually be impossible for Noble to kill with these compositions. And it's going to be a full bought Soul Reaver for the Zeus. He was already doing enough damage. 18,000 of it.
Elevate now up by 14,000 gold. I mean, really? Noble has 1 kill.
So this is the problem, though. I mean, Elevate should have already closed out this game. The past 6 minutes, they've been running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and Noble Esports have actually been able to close the gap ever so slightly, and Elevate should have already probably cleaned it up. But now with the Fire Giant here, I think they know what they have to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is when we see newer end teams come in and start to learn how to really play at the professional level versus the pro-am level, if you will. Closing games is one of the harder things that teams learn. It's not something you get to practice all of the time in scrims, obviously, and more importantly, it is all about decision making. So here, Elevate do finally pick up their Fire Giant buff, and as you said, with Fire Giant down, there really is no decisions to make. Just kill the Phoenix.
I mean, once again, though, they can't fight into this. Instead of having their Cabrakan with TP defend against the split push, they sent their Nemesis, who now has to fight up. And now if they take this fight, they're a man down, which is what Noble wants. I mean,
6 on 4.
You got to do it here. And
that's the entrance.
Now the Nemesis is starting to rotate. And she actually doesn't steal away the speed. So this is a call for Elevate to full-on commit to this one sometime soon.
Crossing the street now is Nemesis. Going to go ahead and join the squad over here on the left side lane. Bounce, Nemesis, ult, delete. That's what Elevate need to do. They got to pick a target. Who's it going to be? Bacchus doesn't even matter. Shane's going to go down right away, and a good Typhoon knocks up a whole bunch. But Elevate, still here by the Phoenix, already gone.
Oh, and the dash, actually, as Grattywind tries to get away, but I run straight into Paul. And it's going to be enough here. And Elevate here, probably just going to play it safe, chip away at these Phoenixes. Oh, my Soul Reaver. I think yoyoabc was surprised at that as well. He kind of just stopped there and can't even take it to the fountain. Intoxicate finds the kill. The Phoenix is not even being half looked at anymore. I guess they will do it. They'll clean it up here. And it's only 2 on Noble's side left to defend.
Elevate, like I spelled out the intricate play that they had to do. All right, Bacchus is going to jump into the character, and then Nemesis is going to follow up and ult. They're at the point where it just doesn't matter. Just hit your buttons, kill him, down goes the Titan.
Yeah, Broadway just completely deleting Shame there, and no final fight. I'm actually a little bit surprised that they didn't look to force that. I guess they didn't know exactly where the Nemesis was. Sure. But game 1 going to Elevate there. Now moving up to 3 and 6, Noble dropping to 4 and 7. And Elevate's, they started off really rough. They've only found 2 wins against Kingdom, who have yet to find their own win. But, I mean, this spells a little bit of hope for them, you know, kind of taking out that middle top card.
Yeah, as you said, I think this match, or that game specifically before we go into game 2, is a perfect microcosm for telling the tale of the teams that are like this. You mentioned that Paul's team, Elevate, is very much individually skilled, and they don't have that synergy, that teamwork there just yet, which is why we see them struggle to close the game. And on the other hand, Noble, they've got their own skills. I'm not saying they don't, but they're more versed in the team play. They have more of that cohesion, and that's why we see the intelligent decision, the intricate split pushes, and the reason why Elevate had some trouble finding the objectives, because Noble are used to those gameplay, sort of objective-oriented gameplay.
And that game, I don't want to say it was completely lost in the picks and bans, because I don't think that's ever the case, but they put themselves on a pretty big crutch there, and the Chang'e not able to work out, just seemed kind of low pressure against the Zeus, and you're a melee, like you're a melee mage up against a Zeus. That's never what you want.
I don't even mind the Chang'e versus the Zeus. I mind the Chang'e without something else supplementing it. I said it during the game. If you're going to do something different, I support you. But at the end of the day, every team generally needs tanks, burst, support, you know, and there was just something missing. There wasn't the burst. Was the game lost in picks and bans? Sure, maybe it wasn't. But I mean, like, if you go ahead and you're trying to drive to work on a scooter with 2 wheels, I don't think it's all about the vehicle. Maybe it's sometimes you.
Well.